What's up, everybody? Welcome to Show Me the Meaning, Wisecrack's movie podcast.
Show me the meaning! Yeah.
My name is Jerry. We're joined here with the Show Me the Meaning crew. We got Greg.
What's up?
We got Ryan.
What's up, film fans?
And we got Austin.
Yo.
That was my best prawn language.
Oh, really?
Oh, okay.
I should have done it better.
Prawn's an offensive and problematic term.
Yeah, man.
Okay. Come on.
Hella problematic. You're going to lose your show.
Yeah, dude. You're going to get us thrown off the platform. Anyway, today we're talking about District 9, the 2009 film directed by Neil Blomkamp, starring Charlton Copley. As always, we're going to go around and see what people thought about this movie the first time they watched it and what was it like revisiting it for this podcast. Let's start with Greg.
Oh, shit. On the spot. District 9. First time I watched this. This is like 2009, 2008, 2009. Man, I watched it and I heard it was like a Peter Jackson film. And I'm like, oh, Lord of the Rings, dude. All right, let me check this out. And I'm like, okay, aliens. It's like some racial connotation type shit. Immigration and South Africa. Oh shit, you know what I mean? So like, I had my feelings about it, and I dug it. I like the movie. I like the imagery. I'm always into like alien type robot, political type movies.
Political alien robot movies.
Yeah,
I'm all about that
political
too.
alien robot shit. It was good. I mean, it didn't like blow me away. I understand. No, it didn't. It didn't blow me away. I understand what the movie was trying to say. We got a lot of movies like this, Avatar, and it's a ton of movies. Like, I mean, it's good because him turning into an alien so people can realize how it feels to be the outsider and, just racism and, hating these people, even though you took over their land, but you're trying to deal with it. And we got these colonies that we're going to push people in. I get it, I dug how the movie was made, but, it's just another one of these flicks. I'm glad. I hope these movies keep coming out so people will stop killing people. I dug it. I'm sorry.
So I'm hearing, eh.
I mean, it's in 2009. I thought it was good. I never thought it was like. I liked Avatar more than I like this.
Really?
Sorry.
Bold statement.
I mean, I probably shouldn't have. I just because of the visual and because the way Avatar just jerked everybody off for like the 6 months before it came. But I dug the movie. I just, I've seen this movie before. That's all. That's it. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Ryan. I feel like I heard.
No,
look,
do not apologize. It's your opinion, Greg.
No,
do you guys see Ryan's
okay.
face?
It's okay.
All right, Ryan, what do you think?
Well, I was blown away by this film. I think this is one of the best movies ever made.
Really?
I would
Wait, really?
Ever
Yes.
made?
Yes, ever made. I would go as far as to say that. Not hyperbole at all. It's a fucking awesome movie. When it came out, it was awesome, and it still holds up. I mean, it's got everything going for it. It's got an amazing script. It's got amazing special effects that were great for the time, still hold up. It's like a handheld. It's handheld with really practical but CGI mixed in effects too, which is a cool style that I like. I love all the surveillance footage stuff.
True.
They really use that to great effect. What else do I love about this movie? I mean, yeah, it's like a body horror, man on the run, found footage movie kind of, which was so cool at the time, and it still holds up. One thing that was different about this time watching it is that and then also it's like a fucked up Star Trek movie or story basically, just with the socio-political aspect that and commentary and whatnot. But I didn't have subtitles for the prawns when I watched this movie, because when Joy sent me the not Joy's fault, but when Joy sent me the file, there wasn't subtitles, and I thought I was crazy. I was like, "Wasn't there subtitles before?"
Shit, that sucks.
It doesn't actually.
It was
Netflix, very interesting watching it without the prawn language. I wouldn't know prawn language, but obviously Charlton Copley knows it and he's learned it, But it was interesting this time watching it without that and kind of the dissonance between or just trying to figure out what they were doing, and you kind of can figure out pretty much what's going on.
Actually, I think it was on Hulu. I watched it on Hulu, which is okay, interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, I just love everything about this movie. Sharlto Copley's incredible in it.
Yeah.
What a good star. And then the director, who Neil Blomkamp is the man, but he hasn't made anything since then. And I would say I hate Elysium with a passion. Chappie was cool, but stupid.
Was it cool?
It was stupid, but it was a fun time. But this is an amazing movie on all fronts. Like, it's fun to watch, fun to think about. Even when the trailer dropped, and just the whole, like, you think they're talking, it's a refugee documentary, and then it's like, oh shit, they're talking about aliens, and it's shot so cool.
I forgot about the
like
trailer.
when that trailer came out, that was awesome at the time, and and it really got you pumped for the movie, which I assume was like Peter Jackson's credit to for marketing it well. Anyway, I just love everything about this movie. I have more to say, but we'll be talking about it later.
Cool. Yeah, Austin, what do you think?
Yeah, I was going to say, in conjunction with the trailer, do you guys remember? I don't know how many cities around the country were using this marketing campaign, but at the bus stops, they just had like the picture of kind of like a little alien. It was like a minimalist alien. It just said like, I don't remember even what it said. It was like no prawns allowed or something weird like that. Do you remember? And I was like, oh, what the fuck is that? Like, when I first saw it, I thought it was like some avant-garde street artist trying to make a political statement. And then when I found out that it was attached to a film, and then it was attached to the trailer that, like Ryan was just talking about, was kind of, it almost seemed like it was going to be like cinema verite or some sort of like a documentary, and it kind of switches it around on you, and you're like, oh fuck, this is actually produced by Peter Jackson. Then it was a really kind of brilliant way to amp up our expectations, because that's obviously post Lord of the Rings and everything like that, where Peter Jackson's name is just like godlike status, right? So I was really pumped for the film. I saw it, and I am in between Ryan and Greg.
Interesting.
I would say that there are sci-fi films that are like canonized as the pinnacle, right? Like the 2001s, and I just told you I saw Alien in theater recently. Like, those are the films that are in the top tier, right? And they're on the Mount Rushmore, let's say. And I think this film is just one step below, but nevertheless, I think it's very, 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 very good. I'm just trying to be to not like over rhetorically imbue my words and say it's excellent, but I'm almost tempted to say it's excellent. I think the acting is fantastic. I think the political commentary is clever as fuck. I think what Blomkamp did with a $30 million budget to then, one, make a shitload of money, but also just the fact that he was able to make something that holds up in terms of how it looks. The production design is amazing. I think the story craft is fantastic. I think the designing principle in terms of the themes and the concepts are really important and intriguing, and I think that's the type, that's like the mixture of film that I love to see, especially because this is basically an independent product. So for all those things, I really, really, really do enjoy the film. I just don't quite think it's as praiseworthy as Ryan does.
How dare you?
Well, it's definitely a huge standard to say one of the best movies of all time. But I
mean,
love this movie.
That's a broad net for me. I'm just saying that this is a masterpiece, is all I really mean to say.
Okay, yeah. I love this movie. It's awesome. I loved it the first time I saw it in the theaters, and I rewatched it, and there are some parts that are just really powerful. Like, to see Sharlto Copley, who, by the way, sucks that he's not a superstar. He didn't really have many chances to make it in America. He was.
I feel like he's in stuff every once in a while, and he surprises me.
I looked at his IMDb.
He works all the time.
Really?
What's the last thing he did?
He was in Elysium.
Fuck. Off the top of my head, just
He
look at his name, but he pops up all the time. I see him in stuff, and you're kind of like, oh shit, that's the dude from District 9, because you may forget his name, but he's in stuff all the time.
Well, maybe he's just stained in my mind because he plays the bad guy in the American Oldboy remake, which is a catastrophe.
He's in the A-Team. He plays Murdoch in the A-Team.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
He's in Maleficent. He's in Chappie again. He works with Blomkamp all the time.
Oh, he was in Hardcore Henry. That was awesome.
He's in Hardcore Henry.
He's the best part of it.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong. All right, well, I hope he keeps getting work because he's awesome in this movie. And the scene where he begs Christopher for protection once he's back in District 9 as someone turning into a prawn is just so powerful. This movie is awesome. I don't want to waste any more time fawning over it because Ryan's already done that for all of us.
You're welcome.
But before we get into the recap, I want to remind everybody, if you've been listening to the podcast recently, you may have heard me talk about our Medium partnership. So we're now partnered with Medium, which is a long-form articles website. So we're uploading 3 articles a week. Go to medium.com/wisecrack, subscribe to the publication, share our stories. It would really mean a lot to us. We really want to make this partnership with Medium work out. Alec who has been on this podcast before, has been working really hard, working with our other writers to make sure we're doing, like basically 3 times as many scripts as we usually do. So it's been hard work, but we're really enjoying it. And you guys can help us continue that partnership. So,
and remember, now that Wisecrack's there, it's getting hot down in medium.
That's right. All right, guys, let's go into a recap. So in 1982, a spacecraft containing impoverished aliens, which are pejoratively described as prawns, appears hovering over Johannesburg, South Africa. So the South African government houses them in a militarized settlement camp/slum known as District 9. Fast forward to present day, where we follow Wikus, a worker at Multinational United who is tasked with heading the effort to resettle the prawns to another area instead of helping them repair their ship to get back home. Why? Because the government wants to harness the alien weapons, which can only be used by prawns. Wikus raids the housing of a prawn named Christopher, where he finds a mysterious piece of alien technology that sprays him with a black liquid. Wikus's help rapidly decays, and when it becomes clear that he's gradually transforming into a prawn, he's taken into an inhumane prawn testing facility where the government scientists discover that he can now wield alien weapons. Before they can harness his organs for further research, Wikus escapes and takes refuge in District 9. Wikus tries to hide in Christopher's house, where he discovers that the object that sprayed him is the fuel the prawns need to fly back home. Christopher promises to fix him if they can recover the fuel, so they break into the government building and steal back the object. With the fuel in hand, Wikus starts the ship and heads toward the mothership, but it's shot down immediately by the government, and Wikus is kidnapped by a District 9 crime lord. Christopher's son is able to remotely reactivate the mothership and save Wikus. Using an alien mech suit, Wikus helps Christopher and his son to escape to the mothership. Christopher promises to come back for him and the rest of the prawns, now living in District 10, in 3 years. The final shot shows Wikus, now a full-blown prawn, creating a flower out of scrap for his wife. End of movie. All right, guys, before we move on, this podcast is brought to you by Skillshare. So Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of amazing classes covering dozens of creative and entrepreneurial skills. You can take classes in everything from photography and creative writing to design, productivity, and more. So whether you're returning to a long-time passion project, or you're challenging yourself to get outside your comfort zone, or simply something new, Skillshare has the classes for you. So I've taken a couple classes on Skillshare. One that I really like is called the Writer's Toolkit, 6 Steps to Successful Writing Habit. So this basically for people who get writer's block, or for people who have trouble getting stuff down on the page. This is a really great class. Some of the key things I took away from this class is, one thing is making your own space. So always change your environment. If you can't make it to a coffee shop, even something easy like a new window can actually help get your creative juices flowing. I now, because of this class, write down all my first drafts of scripts on a notepad. It really helps just get stuff down. Also, if you do find you have writer's block, I learned to read inspiring works, and if something inspires you, start writing. So that's all from this Writer's Toolkit class. So join the millions of students already learning on Skillshare today with a special offer just for our listeners. 2 free months. So Skillshare is offering Show Me the Meaning listeners 2 free months of unlimited access to thousands of classes for free. To sign up, go to Skillshare.com/Wisecrack. Again, that's Skillshare.com/Wisecrack to get 2 free months for now. And now, back to the show.
I know when I'm writing at McDonald's, I at some point had to go, I got to go to another McDonald's down the road.
I've done that, writing at McDonald's.
Some new atmosphere. Then I go to the other McDonald's, I just keep going to them.
As long as you bring the same cup, because then you can just refill at their fountain.
Of course.
And they have a
man, you know what's up.
McDonald's did not sponsor this, however.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah.
I never even thought about that. Really? Do y'all really write at McDonald's?
Oh, yeah.
Word?
When Jacob and I were first starting Wisecrack, we worked out of McDonald's a lot because they got cheap drinks and they got
smart.
free Wi-Fi, and,
Super smart.
they're not going to kick you out.
That's true.
That's so like counter to the LA douchey Starbucks culture too. Right?
Yeah.
Like if you go into any Coffee Bean or Starbucks, you
That's
just
the
find
point, is to
writers
stay away
and
from the-
content creators, and everyone is a producer in the Coffee Bean in LA.
Yeah.
It's a deterrent.
Yeah.
All right, guys, let's start off talking about the documentary style. At first, I wasn't really entirely sure how I felt about it. I wasn't really sure what it adds. There are those moments, because when I first watched it, I was like, Wikus, he's looking to the camera and introducing us to various parts of his job, and I guess that's kind of what it functions as. But I also felt like that could have been achieved with maybe introducing like a rookie character that he's training. But on the other hand, I really like how it initially depicts the prawns as these violent bottom feeders, kind of like how an episode of Cops that takes place in the inner city. And then as the movie exits the documentary style and we go into the narrative style, we start to empathize with the prawns more. So the more I thought about it, the more I started liking it.
I think it was a very bold choice to start.
Yeah.
For one, it's a bold choice to have such a weird main character for this film. You know, he could have been just a straight guy, like a Tom Cruise-esque, you know, taking care of business person. But he's a very strange, idiosyncratic character. You know, like he has this weird voice and mannerisms and stuff, and just the way he interacts with his wife and how he's kind of a wuss in a way,
yeah, totally.
But like also, you know, he's at this position of responsibility, you know, so he's an interesting guy already. And yeah, just the fact that you're totally getting the YouTuber version of like, oh, here, I'm going to show you around my job, you know, like I'm vlogging kind of like that's just in this insane world that we're building. And that's how they're building the world, is through this kind of first person point of view documentary, which is a really awesome decision on Neil Blomkamp's part.
It made me think of The Office, you know, his
a little
character and the way like that first opening scene when he's at a desk, people are wilding out, not wilding, but they're just doing shit in the background. It just had that feeling. And him being kind of like a loser type dude was just reminded me of The Office so much. Was it that good in 2009? Yeah. Right?
It was top of its game back then.
I'm glad you brought that up, honestly, because that's kind of the one thing that, to me, makes this top-level movie, and why I like it so much, is that it's hilarious. This movie is so funny to me. Like, I love the main character, and then just the insane violence, like people blowing up with blood, like it's a blood splatter. That's my kind of gore, you know? It's hilarious inherently, but also effective.
I really like what Greg brought up with The Office, because there's a very, like, when it comes to Wikus's arc, there's a very banality of evil kind of thing, because he's just closing his eyes to all the horrors of his job. I also like that he's like this kind of meek social climber. He married his boss's daughter, which gets him the promotion.
Right.
And
she's hot though.
Oh, sure. So best of both worlds.
Yeah.
But yeah, the father-in-law even says, you know, Wikus, he was never very strong. But to the point of the documentary thing is it almost emphasizes the point that he sees this as this fun YouTube video kind of thing. And he sees this perceived institutionalized benevolence, which is just like this pleasant facade, which we later learn is hiding pure barbarism, whatever the word is.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there are two things going on there, right? There's the sort of Brechtian distancing effect by breaking the fourth wall, where you are immediately being addressed, which means that you are a part immediately of this story. And so I think that they're supposed to then that's supposed to inflect into a type of like empathic connection with Wikus and everything that he's doing. So I think that's why it's such a genius thing. And then on top of that, you don't have like a typical leading man that is doing this, because again, it's supposed to appeal to the every person that can watch this, right? It's not someone who's Brad Pitt gorgeous, not someone who's Sylvester Stallone ripped, not someone who's Tom Cruise smarmy, charming, whatever the fuck he is. You know, it's somebody who we don't really know, who's kind of just an every person, who's a paper pusher. And we're kind of brought into this person's story, and it's kind of like, oh, fuck, man. Well, let's kind of see how this relatively awkward, not extraordinary dude is thrust into an extraordinary situation. And that kind of pulls on us a little bit. It forces us to do a little bit of work. And that's that Brechtian distancing thing, that it forces you to engage a little bit more. And so it triggers your imagination, and then it triggers your empathic involvement in the story. I love that. I love that, absolutely.
Yeah, Austin, I have a question. There's another element of this that kind of affected me in a way that I don't think it did the first time, but especially in the beginning and then also towards the end, that juxtaposition of the various bureaucrats and academics, juxtaposing that with the squalor that the prawns live in, it kind of angered me and just made me like think, like, what is this trying to say? Is it just about like the impotence of academia or of the bureaucracy to actually affect any real change? Because that's how it affected me with this viewing.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. It very well could, because there is a lot of ambition in academia, right, where we might often think that we're changing the world because of the books that we're writing that 10 people ever in their lives are going to read. By the way, buy my book. And
nice promo.
And stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, it very well could be. But another reason why I liked the like intercutting with the academic kind of documentarian style narration was that it's a nice way of giving you plot information in an expositional manner, but in a way that doesn't like break the rules of storytelling, right? Because it is kind of this cinema verite style, and so it kind of plays with genres a little bit, and it allows you to, one, be like, oh, I'm watching a film. That's that distancing effect. But then also I'm engaging with it and I'm getting information, but I'm not annoyed that it's just too much plot exposition, right?
Because I feel
like that.
I think I like it too. The more I thought about it, the more I liked it. Because
Yeah.
initially I was like, oh, well, Blade Runner starts with maybe 5 lines of text that explain so much that takes this movie like 10 minutes to explain. But
Right.
I think the more we talk about it, the more I think that it's time well spent.
Definitely, and I think it's trying to emulate like a History Channel-esque kind
Yeah.
of like explaining the refugee crisis. You know, this could very well just be about, you know, South Africa and stuff, which I think it is obviously supposed to be kind of a 1-for-1, which we might talk about.
We will.
But but yeah, like you're talking about intercutting. I love it. There's so many good examples of intercutting. I have a couple here that the editing is amazing in this movie. Like when he finally is a fugitive and is running from the lab, and then you're intercutting that with the people talking, like the talking heads, you know, who already know the events of the film that we're watching. So so basically, yeah, like you said, you're getting information from the future while we're watching the present, quote unquote, which is really cool.
It frames it as this significant, momentous event.
Yeah, this huge big event that everyone knows about and that everyone's talking about. And then another good example is just like whenever the dad is talking to his daughter and just straight up lying to her face, saying like, "Oh yeah, no, he's gonna be fine." And then while we're watching him getting tortured, that's just a great, you know, juxtaposition.
Yeah.
You know, you're getting you're getting to know about everyone's relationship in the scenes through the cutting. It's awesome.
I love how you said that it's like a History Channel documentary, because that's exactly it's like a History Channel documentary, but instead of going to the cheesy like fake acting that they do because they have such terrible budgets for reenactments, it's like a really high budget version of that, right?
Yeah.
Except within the context of a social commentary, so it's fictional. But you know, you watch a History Channel documentary on like the Holocaust, and it'll like go backwards to some actor playing Hitler, like doing his hand motions or whatever, and doing whatever he's doing with his various military personnel, and maybe like some Jewish people in concentration camps. And the footage isn't ever that good, especially like war reenactments. They just don't have budgets for it. Whereas this is done in a way where you're like, oh, this is really seamless, and it kind of brings it to life. It brings the historical events to life a whole lot more because of that.
I think the editing is the straight man in this, though. It breaks it up. You know, it breaks up the hard content from District 9. It breaks up the family beef with his father-in-law and his wife, and it breaks up what he's going through. It needs it, but it's so much like The Office. Yeah. It's which is great. Yeah.
Yeah. So one thing I really like about his arc is that it's like this man who is a monster, in order for him to become a man, he has to become a monster in the sense. Like,
whoa.
Yeah.
waiting for the
There we go.
Okay.
It's like 2 seconds into the clip.
Yeah, because I mentioned earlier there was like so when he starts transforming into a prawn, he finds himself in the same position as the people he was previously oppressing. So in one telling moment, he steals a phone from a guy in the street out of desperation, harkening back to at the beginning when in that documentary style exposition, they talk about how there were calls for resettlement due to the crime that the prawns propagate. And then he has to eat out of the trash can, just like the prawns. It's just... I like this arc much more than the one in Avatar, and we could talk more about the similarities between Avatar, but he like no longer has the privilege to ethically sit on the sidelines. He has to become a man of action, and he has to endanger himself to save Christopher and his son. And that's why it's all the more powerful that he's just kind of this meek guy at the beginning.
Absolutely.
Well, maybe in the process we learn what it means to actually be a human.
Exactly.
So rather than think of the human as being this scientifically, biologically designated essence, we think of the human as being an ideal that we are perpetually striving towards. And so maybe none of us are ever actually human, but we're always in the process of trying to become human. What is human? It's the ideals that we seem to self-designate ourselves with, but that maybe we don't actually live up to. And so maybe he becomes more than human, or maybe he just simply becomes that he's in the process of actually embodying the ideals that we already claim exist within humanity, and he has to become inhuman in order to truly become humane. And I love that. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, me too. Do you guys want to talk a little bit? I mean, it's crazy that this movie and Avatar came out both in 2009.
Oh, really?
That is wild.
Yeah.
I hadn't even thought of that.
So
This is way better.
Overload.
I also think that I
agree.
think
By
this
the
is
way,
way
I think
better.
this is way better than Avatar.
So just to give everyone, so both movies follow a man working for a militarized organization that is seeking to extract a precious resource from an alien species. In the case of Avatar, it's invading the Na'vi to get unobtainium, which is always funny whenever I say it because it's such a on-the-nose name. And then in the case of District 9, the government's trying to get the prawn weapons. And so both follow a man as he inhabits the body of the quote-unquote other, and he recognizes the humanity in them and revolts against his former bosses. And then both films end with this man being changed completely into this other. But I like this movie better for a couple of reasons, one of which there isn't the kind of like hokey worship of the prawns as this pure, peaceful culture that is entirely connected to nature in a harmonious relationship. I don't know, like, for the most part, the prawns are just as shitty as humans, and I like that because we don't need to build up these other cultures as pure and beautiful and faultless in order for us to want to help them. You know what I'm saying?
Amen, brother.
I don't know. I mean, are the prawns as shitty as humans, or did they just like their ship just break down and they got left there?
Maybe they don't have an opportunity to be as shitty as humans, but they're not like they're not like the Na'vi in Avatar, where they're an image for us to aspire to live peacefully with the world. And I also just like
the noble savage,
Yeah,
which is often criticized by all kinds of political and social positions because it can equally lead to a type of tokenism or a type of chauvinism, and that's exactly what Avatar does. It tokenizes the indigenous or the non-settler, the non-colonial settler, and rather than having a sort of much more nuanced take on how to understand the experience of the human and the formation of societies and things like that.
I think both of them tokenized, though. Like, the prawns are definitely tokens of this, right? In District 9? You don't think so? They're not just like...
well, I mean, we'll talk about the apartheid thing, but... I mean, that's what you're referring to?
No,
just
I mean, of course. I mean, that's the reason it's set in South Africa. But I mean, they're both. That's why I related to Avatar. It's like the same movie, but in this time, the aliens come here, and the humans go, to their space in Avatar. It's the same exact concept of movie. Instead of somebody taking on the whole body, this guy gradually turns into the alien.
Well, I see what you're saying, though, like, and I pretty much, I agree, because it's really just the tone and how they're dealing with these new aliens.
Yeah.
And because here it's kind of like a warts and all, like the good and the bad, and it's not so black and white, whereas Avatar, it's basically, humans suck, we are coming to take their shit, and God damn it, they're like
the Na'vi would have
guy.
been perfect if we had left them. I also like that he doesn't need to fall in love with a prawn like a human has to fall in love with an Na'vi. Like, the other doesn't have to be fuckable for me to identify with them. Like, we don't need.
That's interesting.
We don't need Zoe Saldana. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can see a monstrous prawn and still identify that, hey, this is a sentient, sapient being that deserves dignity.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's not bad to make a story that draws our attention to the need to appreciate the non-human world or the non-white world or the non-colonial world. Those are obviously good impulses and good things to explore and to develop. But the issue is if you fetishize nature as being like this place of purity that is the site of, I don't know, bourgeois escape from the city, or if you think that somehow that culture is like a degradation and corruption of the true natural human community, then you're making some assumptions about what reality is. You're making some assumptions that maybe don't actually hold and that maybe aren't even really adequate to understanding the the object that we're trying to study, whether it be nature or the community that we're trying to understand. And I think that's the problem with Avatar. It just fetishizes nature too much. And it's like, fuck cities. Cities are evil and bad. Technology is bad. Modernization is evil, which I'm okay with criticizing these things. But it just does it in a really easy and cheap way to be like, we just need to get back to nature, man. Which is just kind of, I don't know. I think it's loaded with certain philosophical presuppositions that I think are a little bit oversimplistic.
That marketing, 3D. They made bread.
Exactly. It's like technology is corrupt, but hey, come see this cool 3D shit.
Well, and it is a more optimistic movie, than District 9, which I can see would, relate to audiences more. At the end of the day, it's like, hey, this is what, like you're saying, this is what we could be, this utopia. Think about it. That'd be awesome. Everyone's going, yeah, that would be cool. And District 9, it's like, man, people suck. And
the prawns are just in a new settlement camp at the end. We don't even know if they get saved.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I love the ambiguity at the end of the movie with Charlotte Copley's character and with what's going on with the prawns. Like, because, basically at the end, who knows? The struggle keeps going, which is
you
how
get
it
the
is in
easy
life.
redemption at the end of Avatar. It's just easy. It's just it's pathos, so that you can eat your little bit of candy and you can feel good about yourself for being a nice, white liberal, and maybe you have some guilt and you walk away and you're like, oh man, I got to be better to like indigenous people, but that's okay. I'm still going to keep doing my thing and I'm not actually going to contest the power structures. Whereas District 9 to me is much more challenging. It's much more like, no, motherfuckers, this runs deep. Okay? You can't just feel good about your white guilt and then go about your daily business. We got shit to do and work to do. And that's why I like District 9 a little bit more politically, socially,
Yeah. All right, let's dive into the apartheid thing. So, for those of you that don't know, apartheid was forced racial segregation in South Africa from 1948 till the early 90s. It was segregation of housing, public utilities, marriage rights, job opportunities. There was even forced resettlement into segregated neighborhoods, which, harkens to the literal District 9. I found a really great paper by a woman named Helen Kapstein called The Hysterics of District 9, who because I'm not an expert in apartheid, she was able to pinpoint some specific allusions to various ideas. So one of which is early on in the film, a bystander being interviewed about the prawns suggests eliminating them with a selective virus. And this is a historical reference to a guy named Wouter Basson, apartheid's Dr. Death, who oversaw research into race-specific biological weapons, among other horrors. There's also the part when Wikus is accused of having sexual relations with a prawn. And so, according to Kapstein, this moment references South Africa's history of taboos on interracial mixing and sexual activity. It was actually codified under apartheid in the Immorality Acts and Prohibition of Mixed Marriages Act, which were frantically and punitively enforced. It also plays on the anxieties and stigmas about HIV/AIDS epidemics in South Africa. And there's even a part in the movie where there's a poster that is pinned in the background that says, infected, don't risk it, they're all carriers. Risk hotline, 004, no alien.
Jesus.
Which kind of sums up society's fears about the biological and social boundaries being threatened also with the AIDS epidemic and stuff. And then that sign that you talked about that was part of the marketing, Austin, she says that the signs marking zones for humans only are obviously reminiscent of apartheid era white persons only signs. Apparently they're similarly designed. And I always thought this was, obviously the choice to have it in South Africa, have forced resettlement be part of it is obviously a big nod to apartheid. I always thought this was just really cool.
Some viewer left a comment I thought was interesting that I didn't know, and it was District 9's an allegory for the forcible removal of people from District 6 in Cape Town. The prawns were the non-white, they colored people. I don't know if that's PC, but that's
Well,
the
no,
comment.
for South Africa it is. Yes,
they were codified into 4 different racial classes.
So crazy.
There was black, white, colored, and Indian.
Oh, okay.
And then colored and Indian people had different subgroups as well. But you were actually classified within within one of those 4, and then maybe subgroups within
My
those
ignorance
4.
of the apartheid.
Oh man.
But yeah, District 6 equals District 9, or
Just flip it
vice
upside
versa.
down.
Yeah.
Well, the
Who
difference
would've
is
thought?
it's like the inverse of it, because District 6 is where people were removed from and they were settled into other camps. So it was supposed to be a whites-only camp. So it's kind of like an inverse of it, or a transformation of it. But yeah, they were forcibly removed and resettled in like the Cape Flats is what they're called, and it's like this low-lying land that was prone to flooding, that was positioned in a very poor geographical region, and then became basically like living in squalor, like a slum, is what it became over the years. So, and that's not the only instance. That just happens to be the one I think in a particular region, which is in like the Cape Town area.
Yeah.
People talking shit. People like, ugh, I hate talking about racism.
Oh, in the live stream?
What about the American
I know, it's fucking
apartheid?
uncomfortable. I will say this: if people are interested, I just finished a sort of seminar here and reading group with a group of people. We read a book by a South African scholar. Her name's Jennifer Robinson, and she wrote a book called Ordinary Cities. And it's basically about trying to develop a post-colonial theory for how it is that we understand the construction of cities. Now, she's from Durban, South Africa, but she talks a bit about Joburg. And it's for people who are interested in like urban geography, or if you're interested in how cities are classified as a global city, or how spatial divisions are constructed and things like that. So she spends a little bit of time doing some case studies on the history of Johannesburg in particular. So it's called Ordinary Cities by Jennifer Robinson, and it just was fucking perfect happenstance that I watched this film after reading that book, because my mind was like lit up with. She doesn't really go into some of the things that the film kind of is intimating, but a really interesting book for people to check out. And it's super, super, super readable, not like philosophy shit, okay? So for people that are like, I don't know about your recommendations, dude, check this shit out. It was actually really good.
South Africa is weird, man.
Have you been?
Have you been?
I've never
Has
been to
anyone
South
been?
Africa. I've been to East Africa. I'm cool on South Africa. Even the Africans I meet in America that have lived that are from South Africa. It's just growing up in that, man, growing up in that shit, and your family, your fathers or your grandparents growing up in that shit, ugh, it's just nasty. It's like Boston times 20. It's disgusting. So my girlfriend actually has the opportunity to get a job in South Africa, and I'm like, you might have to be going there by yourself, babe.
Ooh.
Can't do it, man. Can't deal with that that's some deep racism right there. Like, ugh, people driving around in like armored like Fords. Like, if you need to have the glass in your Ford truck armored because you're scared people are gonna get some revenge on you, and the shit that's going on, like they're trying to give people back their land and shit, it's a bomb just waiting to go off. I'm good.
Yeah, there's some tensions, man.
Yeah.
I had a couple friends that recently went, a mixed group of people that went, and they reported quite different experiences. Surprise, surprise. But, I mean, apartheid ends in the 90s, so here we are, 20-ish years later, and those divisions are still, you don't just overturn hundreds of years, because, even though apartheid wasn't codified until the late 40s, it was already pre-existent in certain rules under the Dutch Empire in the 1800s and or in the 18th century. I'm sorry. And then when the British Empire kind of takes over certain parts, there was a battle between the Dutch and the British Empire. But that stuff doesn't go away when you have hundreds of years of like chauvinism and racial sentiment and xenophobia, and that stuff still exists in a lot of ways, like in the social stratification, from what I understand.
No doubt. All right. Got to transition out of this to talk about that this podcast is brought to you by My Wall Street. So, Austin is laughing at the particular relevance of this, but Ryan, you play the stock market, don't you?
Oh, every day.
Do you really?
No.
Oh, I thought you did. I thought you were
was
into
playing
this
along.
stuff. Oh, okay. Well, I thought you
played
did.
that
Hey, guys,
Bitcoin
I invest.
market.
Yeah, Litecoin.
I invest. I'm critical of economic regimes, but I'm not trying to fucking just eat beans and rice for my fucking life, man.
Yeah. I mean, I've always I think about investing a lot, but I mean, I have a liberal arts education, so I don't really know. I was never taught about any of this stuff. So I have set up a thing with My Wall Street. I don't know how to set up a portfolio. I didn't know what would get a good return. There are thousands of stocks to choose from. But the cool thing about My Wall Street is they offer a short list of stocks that their investors have spent countless hours researching. I was never coached on this stuff, so it's really nice to have that investing companion. They're there for every step of the way, setting up a broker, and then you can start managing your own portfolio. And with their app, really easy. You can invest and learn on the go. So all our listeners can get access to the entire My Wall Street app for free and use it for 30 days instead of the normal 7 days by going to mywallstreet.com/wisecrack to download their app now and get access to their market-beating stock picks and expert guidance. After your trial, you can continue for just $9.99 a month. That's mywallstreet, mywallst.com/wisecrack. So guys,
And
get
as
started.
as their motto goes, from the wall to the street, to the mywallstreet.com, to the mywallstreet.com. That's a good one, right?
That's a pretty good one. I was going to
good one.
say, like,
You should be a
just-
jingle writer, man.
Yeah.
I am
You got
one.
the-
I'm an amateur
yeah,
jingle writer.
I was gonna say.
I've never been hired.
Shout out to Little John.
All right, does anyone else want to bring up about this movie? You want to go into the mailbag? We have a whole bunch of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood mailbag to get through since it took Austin an extra 2 weeks to see it.
Oh yeah, I'd like to just
real
take
quick-
another second to just say
Yeah.
how big of a shame it is that Neil Blomkamp. What's up?
No, keep going, brother.
Finish your thought first.
Oh, I was just
Ryan.
gonna
Yeah,
say.
keep going.
I was just gonna say that he hasn't made a good movie since this,
Yeah.
and he infamously had, I think, an Aliens reboot go under, and maybe a RoboCop one go under. I want to say, like, he's had a couple big projects that took years off of his creativity time that I'm sure he got paid well for, but we don't get a movie at the end of it. So basically, we've only got Chappie, which we all agree is a
Have you-
subpar
The kids love
ET
Chappie. The kids love
starring
Chappie.
D.
Do they?
Antwoord.
The kids love Chappie.
Okay. Do the
Chappie
kids
and
love
Wally.
D. Antwoord? And yeah, and Elysium, which sucks. Fucking sucks. So
Yeah.
yeah, it just,
See,
I
I
don't
kind
know.
of dig Elysium.
It's
I don't love it, but I'm kind of into it. And
Like- with as subtle and awesome as the political commentary is in this movie, that movie is just a sledgehammer. The movie.
Does seem like it.
Yeah.
But the
Just
sci-fi
like-
in it is great, though. Like, you know, they have that whole medical chair. Nobody dies in Elysium.
Well,
you know.
originally it was supposed to be Ninja from D. Antwoord instead of Matt Damon, and that would have been cool. But then I say that, but then he's bad in Chappie. Like, he's just not a good actor.
No, he can't act.
Wait, who would it have been?
Ninja.
It was originally supposed to be Ninja from D. Antwoord, the guy.
Yeah, interesting.
I think that would have been interesting if he could pull it off. At the time, I thought that D. Antwoord was such a performance art thing that, oh, well, he could do anything. I mean, this whole performance art thing is so convincing, but I don't know. I don't really
You feel
believe that
differently
in me.
now?
Well, I feel differently after seeing Chappie.
Okay.
They're bad in that movie. All right. Do you want to
kids
say
love
something,
it, though.
Austin?
Well, I mean, just because I know that people might get mad if we ignore like another kind of interesting element of the film, but the idea that that you know he has to become non-human so that he can realize the ideals of becoming humane or maybe of striving towards humanity in a better way. But also the thing that this film does is it couches this racial satire or commentary within the framework of speciesism, right? And that's something that I think right now is just a really kind of important on the rise concern that people have. Like, how do you be a humanist and care about the world? Like, particularly with the ecological crisis, right? Like, how do you care about the world, but in a way that doesn't just concern itself with one species? And I think one of the things that's interesting that this film does is it kind of tries to say that there are deeper connections, that maybe even being human, this ideal that we kind of think that we are, is actually being post-human, right? Like the alien and human world can coexist, so to speak, and that it's important to strive for that kind of egalitarian rule. I think that's really fucking powerful in this film, you know?
Yeah, I'll say I thought about something similar to that. And I was like, so when we see the prawns and they're getting abused, it's sad, but I feel like it's sad because we can see the human-like emotions in their eyes. But then I'm like, all right, well, if it's conditional upon me recognizing a sense of humanity in their eyes, then how much sympathy is there really for this other?
Deep.
Like Starship
Well,
Troopers.
but then that means
Yeah.
Well, then that just means that we have to figure out how to attune ourselves to those empathic connections,
Right.
outside of just the ways that we typically are accustomed to. Like, we obviously, like, you know this, you are a dog lover to the hilt. Like, if you see dogs getting put in pain, you connect with them. You read sadness in their eyes. You read sadness in a whimper, and you experience joy in their joy when they're running around. Can we do the same thing with fish? I just saw a fucking viral video of an octopus trying to escape out of a fish market, and I got really sad. I was like, oh my God, that fucking octopus is trying to escape a fish market is like a dog trying to escape from someone that's trying to eat a dog or something like that, you know, or abuse a dog. Hey, man, in East Asia, they eat some dogs, so I don't know.
If lettuce,
you know what I
I'm
mean?
triggered,
Yeah.
Austin.
if lettuce screamed while you ate it, you would never have a BLT again.
Probably. Yeah, man. We got to just synthetically create all of our consumptive material.
All right. Mailbag?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so we're going to do some voicemails. Hit us up at 213-534-8807 or 21-ELF-HUT-07. We got a couple voicemails. These are the ones that aren't too long.
Alrighty. Let's see what you got, Wisecrackers. We got Dalton up talking about In the Mood for Love.
Oh, we got to do In the Mood for Love first.
Hey, Wisecrack. Dalton from Kentucky here, calling in response to the In the Mood for Love episode. I saw it for the first time at the end of last year, and it immediately became one of my favorite romance movies ever.
Hell yeah.
Alongside movies like Lost in Translation and the Before trilogy. But you brought up a great point on the podcast about how the ticking time element added a whole nother layer of tension to the film. And looking back, those other two movies, Lost in Translation and the Before trilogy by Linklater, namely Before Sunrise and Before Sunset, they use that too. And while a lot of Hollywood romance movies use that same device to have, like the leading lady about to fly away on a plane and never to be seen again, but then the guy runs to the airport, sweeps her off the feet at the last minute, it's just this bullshit ending. These movies that end with, oh, fuck, like our time between us is up. We can't keep this connection going because I'll probably never see you again. Those leave the way bigger and more profound impact on me. Aside from the fact that they're just directed and acted beautifully, I think the idea of a love story ending either ambiguous or anticlimactic instead of with the climax typically leads to just a overall better film that more people can connect to, even if they don't want to. Anyway, those are just my thoughts. I love the show, and I appreciate you guys always making me want to go back to rewatch movies and appreciate them in a new way, or just discover new movies. Much love. Peace.
Thanks,
Dude,
Dalton.
thanks, Dalton. That was
I
a great
agree.
message.
He's a lover too. You can tell.
Yeah.
District 9 kind of had that, like we were talking about. It's that last shot of him making the metal flower is a very bittersweet,
Yeah. Well, he mentioned Lost in Translation, and I believe Sofia Coppola, when she won the Oscar for Best Original Screenplay, she actually thanked Wong Kar-wai because the movie Lost in
total
Translation,
ripoff.
it's based on In the Mood for Love. Hey, it's classy that she thanked him. She didn't have to do that.
No, totally.
But yeah, that was a
Yeah, you got to cite your sources when you steal their material.
right,
Yeah, totally.
right. All right, let's do another one.
Let's go, Jason, with Once Upon a Time.
All right.
Hey, Show Me the Meaning crew. My name's Jason, and I had a question for you all about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Now, I just saw the movie last night, and one of the small things that I remember that is kind of sticking with me that I wanted to get your opinion on is the scene in which Rick Dalton is sitting on the Western set with the little girl actor, and they're both reading their books. Now, the little girl is reading a book about Walt Disney, and she proclaims Walt Disney to be a genius and a visionary.
Ooh,
And then asks
I
Rick
know where he's
what book
going
he's
on this.
reading. And he's reading a Western about a character who is undergoing a very similar arc to Rick himself in this movie. And so I was wondering, and then the little girl then says, well, that sounds like an amazing story. So I was wondering, what is Quentin Tarantino saying, if anything, about possibly the studio system today, about how Walt Disney movies have taken over kind of every corner of the box office, especially this summer. with Lion King and Aladdin and Spider-Man. And I'm wondering, is Tarantino saying that maybe both his smaller character-driven movie and the big studio movies can coexist in a world, and there's an audience for both of them, and they can both be appreciated, and they're not mutually exclusive? Or is maybe he kind of patting himself on the back and putting himself alongside the visionary status of Walt Disney? That's just one of the takeaways I had, and I'm curious what you guys think. Love the show. Can't wait to hear your thoughts. Bye.
Nice.
Dude, good catch, Jason.
Hire that man.
Jason, good voicemail, but I think you're wrong. I think that this is all he was saying with that was, oh man, okay, I gotta put this reference in. Oh, Walt Disney, I love him. Okay, I gotta put this reference. This cowboy book's cool. I think it's cool, and other people might think it's cool. What other cool stuff do I like? What's on my bookshelf? Oh yeah, I'm gonna put that in the thing. You know, people might think that that's cool. That's my opinion.
Feet.
You're a hater. Are you a Tarantino hater?
I'm a
Brian?
Tarantino lover, and it's hard love because right now I think he's in a slump, the biggest slump of his career, man. He's just masturbating on celluloid and then calling it art.
I don't know, man.
Well, I love a little bit of masturbation onto some celluloid.
Hey, I like
Hollywood was fantastic.
You're right, me too.
Oh, you loved
Cells
it.
get deep.
Oh, I fucking loved it.
It's
bro.
crazy
And I
how
think-
many people
Ooh.
fucking love it or just are like, what was that movie?
Yeah.
You know?
And I think that this voicemail is absolutely Tarantino, because what happens is her attention, she puts the book down and she gets invested then in Rick Dalton's book and into Rick Dalton himself, and then she becomes like a fan of him. And then I fucking cried when she said, "That's some of the best acting I've ever," or "That's the best acting I've ever seen." And that look in Dalton's face, you're just like, "Oh my god!" So I would say that Tarantino's actually trying to vindicate his own approach against the kind of monopolizing studio system of Disney. By the way, shout out, we have a badass video that I helped do the research on, precisely on this, on platform capitalism on the Wisecrack channel. So if you haven't seen it, check that one out.
Yeah, I'd like to think that there's some relevancy here. The one thing I would say is that he does tell this girl that if you don't understand what it's like to be washed up, you're going to experience it in 15
That was
years.
hilarious.
Which is so true.
Which I don't think is really going to apply to Disney. Because this, I mean, I don't know. I believe that so long as there are movies, there's going to be Disney, probably for the foreseeable future.
They
I think
had like 60% of the market this year.
But I
or
love
something.
the idea of the fresh face new girl obsessed with Disney who owns the box office now, contrasted with the old guard Western guy, which used to dominate the box office back in the day. Great shit. All right, let's go into the mailbag. So hit us up. movies@wisecrack.co. That's not .com.co.
Did you guys see Lion King?
I didn't. Did you?
No. Did
Yeah.
you guys see Aladdin?
No.
No, I've skipped them. I saw
We're
I saw
apparently the
Jungle
only
Book.
ones though, because
These
they've made
Listen,
$1 billion.
I just want to have kids so that I can catch up on all these remakes and shit like that. That's the only reason I want to have kids, because then I'll have an excuse, you know. And
You
then
don't
I
need
get
an
to-
excuse.
Yeah.
I go see kids movies by myself almost
sure the
every
original-
weekend.
I don't have
Original's
time
better.
though. I don't have time, so then I'm forced into it, you know.
All right, so this is from Thomas. We got a lot of emails like this. I wanted to discuss the Charlie Manson subplot of the movie. I agree with Ryan that the audience should be familiar with Manson and his cult to fully experience the catharsis from the ultraviolence at the end. Though the movie was clear that the family is a violent cult, it portrayed the female cultists as happy-go-lucky 20-somethings, which is sure to confuse an unfamiliar audience with the ending splatter's gratuitous blood. This isn't the problem right now, however, because I think that Manson and his cult are still in the collective consciousness of most adults in America. Some moviegoers in the auditorium even cheered as Cliff bashed in the face of one of the Manson cultists and Rick burned the other one alive. It'll be interesting to revisit the film in 5 years from now and get a reaction from much younger audience members. We got a ton of emails of people saying that I didn't know about the Manson murders.
Exactly. I felt
And
very vindicated.
Yeah, they didn't know about the Manson murders. They didn't know who Sharon Tate was.
Wow.
And they said that because if you do know, then you're watching the movie from this perspective of, oh, the specter of Charles Manson, something bad's going to happen.
Yeah.
We all know what's going to happen. But if you don't know, then you're just like, oh, cool, we're hanging out with some bros.
I guess
you
you're
know?
right.
Yeah.
I guess you're right.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a Manson
I
movie
think,
soon.
I think they're like
I'm sure.
There are like
Yeah.
ways that this contracts. Like one, you have to know who Manson, you have to know a little bit about the family, and you have to know a little bit about the Tate murders. But then two, I think another layer is if you're from LA or if you lived a long time in LA, then that will also kind of add another layer of connection. And then the third is if you're involved in the industry in any way. And I think if you have all three of those, then this film has so much more meaning to you because you go into this understanding how that event has affected Hollywood, how people understand that. I grew up with my friends. We used to go to abandoned like chicken coops and ranches and shit like that around Southern California that were supposedly places where the family used to like squat. So like for me, the Manson story looms quite heavily. So that's why it had such an impact on me seeing the film, you know?
We got another one from Jimmy. He says, in your Show Me the Meaning on Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, you brought up the question of what it's like to see the movie without knowledge of the Tate murders, and I can definitely answer. Me and a couple friends saw that the movie was getting great reviews, so we decided to head over to the theater to watch it, and we had no idea what it was about other than having something to do with Hollywood in its prime.
It's so funny.
Perhaps it should have stated that many of us Gen Zers... maybe it should be stated that many of us are Gen Z and never really knew of the history of the Tate murders. For the first hour, me and my friends kept trying to figure out the plot or the storyline or some action that was pushing the story forward. It felt as though there was only the initial push with Rick and his producer and then nothing after that. I grasped the symbolism and the commentary of the film industry, but I did not realize that there was a looming threat of the Tate family being murdered. When it came time to beat up the Mansons, we were all very surprised to see them get murdered. To us, it was comical how badly they were beaten up. It made no sense as to why they were so brutally beaten out of nowhere. I understood the Mansons were devout on killing, but it surprised me how hyper-violent it was to characters that meant nothing to me. And for Rick to use the flamethrower on the Mansonite in the pool, it just made us all question the point of the movie. From our perspective, Rick hates hippies, but for him to kill someone that was so bloodied and beaten that just fell in his pool, it felt over the top for no reason. When we were discussing...
Where's this person? Does this person say where he or she is from?
I don't think so.
What does that have to do with it?
Well, because if you're not
because
from
I'm in
California...
Australia.
Got it.
When we were discussing...
And I saw this in Sydney. And I actually had a conversation with some audience members who said the exact same thing. They were young dudes, like either young millennials or like Zoomers. And they were like, there's no reason, there's no justification for that violence at the end. Da, da, da. And I said, do you know who Charles Manson was? Do you know who Sharon Tate was? Are you familiar with the Tate murders? They had no clue. So I explained it to them and they said, oh, well, that sucks.
Beautiful. You think
Because they didn't get it, you know?
You think Tarantino knew that? Like he,
Of course, all he needed is a scene, one scene to set up who that is. And I guess you can argue you don't need the scene, and people obviously love this movie, so they're like, you know, who obviously know everything about the murders. But I think just for the majority of your young audience that doesn't know shit, we clearly are getting emails, you know. Like I think
he's in a hardcore bubble. To him, Tarantino hasn't met anyone in 10 years who doesn't know all of Sharon Tate's filmography.
Well, I just think that's so cool for, like, you know, I think if Tarantino knew what he was doing and that he knew other people would have different views of this, I think that's cool because now those kids know for sure who Manson is, especially if they watch Mindhunters.
This is a big learning. This is a Discovery Channel expose.
Yeah, they're gonna learn
the
some shit.
They're gonna learn exactly what didn't happen.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna do two more from Chase. You guys talked about how a lot of the many scenes in the movie felt superfluous, and I have to strongly disagree. I left the movie feeling like it had an almost Edgar Wrightian feel to it, and that it seemed like it used the concept of Chekhov's gun less like a simple tool and more of a plot outline. Nearly every scene in the movie had some hand in setting up a domino for the end sequence. The dog, the flamethrower, the acid cigarette, Cliff's familiarity with the family, the pool, and how Rick tends to float back there blasting music through headphones when he gets hammered. Cliff's potential psychopathic tendencies, and also his aptitude for hand-to-hand combat. Every aspect of the fight is carefully constructed through the lens of the movie. Nothing in this scene came out of nowhere, aside from the fact that it deviates from what happened in reality, a reality which is never explicitly told to us by the movie. It's a pre-existing notion brought into the theater by the viewer and subconsciously stoked by the true crime-style narration that kicks in after the time jump. This is also possibly a reason why the goals of the Manson family are never explored. It makes it so the twist isn't unfair. If you thought Sharon Tate was going to be murdered in the movie, you brought that with you to the theater. From Chase.
Mm-hmm. I agree 100% with that. People were talking about what's the point of the Bruce Lee scene. It's precisely like he said. You want to know that Cliff has some sort of skills with hand-to-hand combat, and I think there are some other reasons that kind of tie into that as well. kind of introducing a fresh new character that can sort of deconstruct, if you will, a mythological character that creates some sort of attachment to the new character, which is the Cliff character. I think that's exactly right. Everything had a purpose, and it does tie together. It's just that it's done in a kind of scattershot sense, and so it doesn't seem to be as streamlined, but I think it all does culminate. The payoff comes at the end. Not every payoff. There are a couple payoffs, like Sharon Tate learning martial arts with Bruce Lee. I thought maybe, because I actually had an inkling of the ending before I saw the film, I thought maybe that she would somehow be involved in some ass-kicking of the hippies, which I thought would have been a really nice touch, actually, to give her a little bit of like revenge, so to speak, like revisionist revenge. But most of the setups are paid off at the very end, and they do kind of tightly come together.
3 hours later.
Yeah, my only thing about that, and I mostly agree, but the violence is so over the top, which I love, but it breaks the fourth wall to the point where, okay, this is just, we're basking in this revisionist history, this fantasy, to the point where even if it wasn't established that Brad Pitt's character was a badass, could use hand-to-hand combat and everything, we would still break ourselves out of it and see, okay, this is the quote-unquote money shot of the movie, which we can break all of the existing logic and just revel in the fact that we're changing history and we're correcting history so that these horrible murderers get their due.
But it's also important because he smokes the acid cigarette. So you're like, he's playing with expectation. That's what this film is. It's playing with expectations. It's dangling a carrot. It's taking things away from you. And so you think, okay, Cliff is a badass. He's potentially a psychopath. He may have murdered his wife. He's also a war hero. He has all these scars. But then he smokes the cigarette. And then you're like, oh, fuck, man. Now he's incapacitated. Now he's going to die. And so then Tarantino kind of plays with that, too. You're thinking, oh, if he were sober, he would fuck these people up. And he's got a badass dog who eats food that's called like good food for mean dogs or whatever it is. Yeah. So that has another element, So there's all these things. He's constantly just playing with expectation. For me, this is actually his most like psychological film in the sense that he's trying to actually affect the audience's thoughts and expectations and the mythologies that we bring to the theater. And that's why I thought the film was so amazing.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. So we will be taking a 2-week break. This podcast, I'm going on vacation, so we'll see you guys in 3 weeks.
Where are you going?
I'm going to Sequoia, and then I'm going to Northern California. It's California, place with some trees.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, man, some nature.
Sequoia's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have a great time, dude.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Man.
All right, where can we find you guys on social media? Ryan.
You can make shorts every week on Ryan Shorts on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram. That's my main place. Check me out.
Check out my website, man, gregcomedy.com. I got a lot of shows. Check out my art website, gregedwardsart.com, and Greg the Grouch on Twitter.
Yeah, Greg's art's fucking awesome, too. Seriously, go check it out and buy his stuff.
Oh, thanks, bro.
Yeah, and you can hit me up on Twitter, Austin_Hayden, or Insta, AUS_HAY.
Check out medium.com/wisecrack, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
Peace.
Goodbye from Johannesburg, South Africa.
Peace.